Hello, hello, hello. I am Tawana, the host of What the Quote, and I am here with the fabulous Kaia Thompson. And Kaia has given us a beautiful quote this week from the Queen Mother, Maya Angelou. And the quote is, I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Maya Angelou. So I am going to play my theme song and then we are going to talk to Miss Kaia about her quote.
And with the quote, we create kind humans who speak kindness, show kindness. Be a kind human. Be a kind human.
So Miss Kaia, welcome, welcome, welcome. First, I want to start out by introducing how or talking about how I was introduced to you. We
Yes.
have a mutual friend by the name of Amber Fields, who has also been a guest on the show. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, I got somebody I want you to meet. She's great. She's fabulous. And she is great. And she's fabulous."
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, yes. And so I just wanted to say thank you so much. I would love for you to talk a little bit before we begin talking about the quote about what you're doing and the organization that you started, why you started it, and then we'll jump right into the quote.
Yes, so thank you, Tawana, for having me. I'm very excited. It's like my first podcast conversation. So really, I'm learning. I even from your show, just progressing in a sense
Yes.
towards different things. But yes, so during my day job, I work as a corporate ticket sales manager for the Indiana Pacers.
Go Pacers.
And yep, amazing. And it was for me just always a dream to work in the NBA. Like that was my goal. Like from high school, like I knew I wanted to be behind those scenes, be behind those moments, those headlines. Like didn't know how, when, or what it was gonna look like, but that was the goal. And so for me, I was very blessed to have a family and people around me who encouraged me and developed me. And one person in particular is my father, simply because he runs a cleaning company. And so we're in buildings and we're taking out trash and cleaning and, doing the things no one else wants to really do. And one of the things he pointed out to me at an early age was that no doors are closed to us. So basically, meaning that as a janitor, you're given access to a lot of parts of the building. Most doors are going to be open. All you got to do is turn the knob. So this,
That.
yes. So that kind of like sprung into like, okay, I'm pursuing my dream. I reached my dream. I'm working in the NBA. And now I want to be able to provide that kind of sense of support and connections and open doors for other people, which is why I created No Doors Closed, to help young women of color learn from others like yourself. I know you contributed a video for my website and future Instagram posts. Discover who they are. So those tough questions like we all have to go through and ask, and then act in purpose and intentionality based on what they've learned and discovered about themselves to that first door, whether it be taking care of their basic needs, getting help, education, connections, whatever it is that looks like a first door for them so that they fulfill purpose and then live their best lives. Like
I love that.
that's kind of where I want to go. And that's what it kind of all stemmed from because of just
Yes.
my family.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful because you learned something from your father, and then you took that to really step into you um, helping other people, being a door for other people.
Yes.
Right. Yes, I love it. Love it. I mean, it's fantastic. So, how long has it been? What year did you form it, or how long have you been doing it?
So it's kind of bubbled in my head for a few years that I'm like, really have a name to it or anything. But it really started to take fruition in June of 2020. So I started working with, again, Amber's amazing connector throughout the city of Indianapolis. So Amber got me connected to this group she was a part of. And through that, I met Rebecca Fleetwood Hessian. And then she was kind of able to, I kind of hired her to be my business coach, that outside person to be like, this is an idea. I don't know how to make it into reality. I want to make it into reality, but I need that accountability. So I took some of my dollars and
Yes.
paid it to her, because I'm like, it needs to go outside of myself. So kind of in June 2020 is when I started acting on it. But the idea, I don't know when it came to me, but it was there. Like, it was just there, bubbling.
Yeah. I love it. And I love what you're bringing out, the value of accountability, because it is a game changer.
It does. It changes everything, because it puts it sometimes outside of yourself. Not that I'm depending on that person to do it for me, but it's like, hey, like, kick me in my butt if I don't, or ooh, I don't want to waste that money.
Absolutely. Yes. That's gonna help you to get it done.
It
Yes,
really was.
absolutely. Yes. Well, congratulations. A
Thank
lot of
you.
people just keep their dreams in their head, and you are moving toward manifesting that. So kudos to you. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
yes. And so now,
you. Now,
first by the queen, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Talk to me about why that quote has been so inspirational for you.
yeah. So I'm trying to think, like, when I actually heard or learned about this quote. But I remember one of the first times I started saying it was like with my sophomore year of college during a pageant, and had to do my little introduction and started it off with that quote. And I just remember it, and why it empowers me or makes me excited is because of the impact on other people. Like, I want to create an impact on people, and sometimes it might have even been so fleeting, I don't even know what that moment was, but at some point in time they came across me, and my energy was either positive or negative, and that was the lasting impact that or impression they got, like that.
Mhm.
So I always think about, from this quote, and what it does to me is just to think, like, people aren't going to forget that. So always making sure you're putting your most positive energy out there, your best self, like when you, especially in that first impression moment, because that's what's going to carry over with people.
Yes.
Minus whatever you say. A little.
Yes. And it's so funny that you say that, because as you were talking, I was thinking about that in my own life. And I have found that it's really amazing how, when I just do one small thing, like smiling at someone when I greet them, a-
Yes.
asking and remembering, hey, how's your mom? Or how's your son doing? That a lot of times that catches people off guard, because um, it's not just about, hey, how you doing? Because most of us are on automatic response with just fine.
Fine. I'm good. I'm like, I was like, we're fine. Like, we're gonna go. That's
Yes,
good.
yes. And so really taking the time to remember what's going on in the lives of other people, and then asking them about it, and then actually listening,
Yes.
you know? And so it makes I totally get what you're saying about how people are feeling, and how you can be an instrument for that.
Yes, and especially like with today's times, like I think one of the most unique things that came out of this whole pandemic is that humanity part, because now it's like your work is brought into your home, where sometimes you try to close the home out, and now that your home is there in front of you, you have to see the person, you have to remember their feelings, and there are other things going on in their lives other than work sometimes. So when you're just negative or you give bad energy, they're going to take that, and that might affect them, but they won't forget the positive feelings, like you said. And so, yes, being intentional, asking those couple extra questions, I definitely believe it carries on a lot further than anything else.
Yeah. And it's so funny hearing you talk about it can be both positive and negative, because I know in my own life, when I am presented with someone who in some way is has some negativity or negative energy, I'm like, you know,
You steer clear.
yes, like it's like, I used to say years ago, I'm glad I don't have to go home to them. That was my thing. And it's so interesting that you mentioned home, because a lot of us are at home more than we have been. And so
Yes.
even taking this quote from out there in here, it's like, how are you making the people closest to you feel?
Yeah. And that's interesting, because like some of it, and for some people, like there's just a screen between them and the other person, and if they're completely isolated, where they live alone, or don't have close family nearby, it really, that's a good point. Like I think, like what I've seen, at least in my positive experience with the on-screen at home experience, is those moments of vulnerability sometimes, or that opening up, that you shared something that otherwise you maybe never would have shared in normal circumstances. I think that's where you get it at home and stuff like that, with like coworkers or colleagues.
Yeah.
That's the only interaction you're having with people.
Yes. 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 And it's so funny too, because um, I'm taking this program, and one of the things that is said from the facilitators is like, all this stuff that we want to be on the outside, we need to start on the inside. So we want to be positive and inspirational to other people. We need to start being positive and inspirational to our kids, our parents, our significant others. Like, be the example on the inside, because it's easy to come up with reasons why this, that, or the other. But really, it's about being being conscious of how you interact with people, like inside your home and outside of your home. you know,
Yes.
you know?
I'm like, that is very true. Like it always starts out home and stuff like that. The different mentalities. And I listened to Transformation Church from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Pastor Michael Todd. he,
Yes. Home.
progressing, not
Yes.
perfection. Right?
Yes.
But I'm trying to think, because even like one of his series over the summer, when all the race issues were happening and stuff like that, that was one of those things that he talked about, was being at home and being intentional in those conversations and in those spaces where nobody is seeing you, because sometimes what's done in the dark eventually comes to the light. But that's what you were just saying, like if you start inside and then it goes out, those behaviors and that mentality. For sure.
I mean, it really, um, it's so interesting to me, because one of my greatest teachers has been my son.
Mm.
And because as a parent, he's 29. And as a parent, I have been in the same role, like I've been his mother. He has been an infant, a toddler, a teenager, a young man, like he has continued to grow and
Yes.
change. And so the gift that he's given me is that I have to, of course, I will always be his mother, not this mother, not pointing my finger. You need to say, clean up your room. This is it. I'm not that.
You can't be authoritative anymore. Like, especially at some at 20, being 20 some years old and living with my mom, like she like nope, we're two grown women at this point. Like I understand I'm living under your roof and I can be respectful, but we gotta
Yeah.
have different conversations. Like it
Yes.
ain't to just do this kind of thing.
Yes. Yes. And I know what he taught me was that now my role is to listen more,
Hmm.
talk less. And so we just had, he was talking to me about his life, and he's met a wonderful young lady, and just so I just kind of listened, and it was so great to hear him because he was so excited and talking about, I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what being a parent of an adult is like. Is me not talking as much, me asking him, like, well, what do you think about this? Or,
Hmm.
what's going on? What are you doing? And so I have found, even in my personal life, in my life out as an employer, like even with my employees, I make it a point when I see them to say, how are you? You know,
Yes.
how's your child? Did you move in the house? Did you such and such? Like to really stop and connect with them so that they feel heard.
Yes. And I think I even saw that from when we were out one time and I was picking up those magazines, which thank you very much for. It was great. And the books too. So I saw that, like, when you talk about your intentionality and stuff like that, I saw that, I think, with just some customers that made being in your shop, like they even had stopped to acknowledge you because of maybe that connection and that personality and that warmth you give off to people. Like, I was like, this is cool. Like, they just like off the street talking to her, and you, like you said, you had some questions and knew what they were doing, and I was like,
Yeah,
wow, like that's a way to do business, and that's how you do life as well, because when y'all, it was community, that was a neighborhood and love. So I seen it by example, like you do that. Like I saw you do that.
yeah. I mean, I think it makes all the difference in the world because I feel like in so many cases, um, people they want to talk and tell people this, that, or the other, and that's great. But I also feel like there's a space to listen and to connect with people just at a human level, just at a human level. Of course, I call that being kind. But just really just seeing people and help really like facilitating really what Maya was saying, you know, because we are great, but it's not just about us. Like it's about us being in relationship with other people. Did I lose you? Can you hear me?
You're correct. You did lose me a little bit. I was like, "Can you hear me?" I can hear you now, but the images were going in and out. I was like, "Oh no, this internet!" Well, like, oh, I gotta find that internet next time. But
Yeah.
no, relationships with other people are very key, and that's why, like I said, like that the quote that I chose, it just is that great reminder to remember to be kind and to take that extra step in developing those relationships.
Yes, yes. And it's funny you
And
mentioned
so,
great relations, and that's really one of the things that um, I think is lost is just our ability to be kind to one another. And we can have differences, but it doesn't have to be as escalated as it has been. I mean,
Yeah.
the kindness.
But it's interesting on kindness, and where I feel like you said we've strayed away from it, is that I've mentored these young girls,
Yeah.
and um they're like fifth through eighth graders, kind of like in this new world that we live in and going through
You know what?
life. And
I'm gonna just have a moment of silence for you, breathing life into 8 to 15-year-olds, because that, listen, is a ministry. Go ahead.
well, I was like you talking about your son learning. I was learning as well from them, and one of the things I remember that struck me from what they said was that, well, if they're too nice, you can't trust them. Like being a
Yeah.
nice or a kind, decent human almost led to automatic mistrust in some type of sense or way. So when you talk about that stray away from kindness and niceties, like somewhere in their mentality, yeah, you're too nice, something's up, like you're
Mm.
not to be trusted. And I was just like,
Amazing, though.
huh?
Isn't that amazing?
It
Because
is.
what I go to when I hear you say that is that they've had experiences where they have trusted people and they have been let down.
Yes. And a lot of them echoed that sentiment, that it's heartbreaking, and that now like you can't go out and be a kind human um to them. And I even there's a part where I know I felt like I had let them down because I was supposed to be there the last week when they gave their presentations, but with the whole COVID thing, I had been exposed, so I had a last minute not appearance on this very last day grand like finale. I was so sad. Like that was like in my whole quarantine period and stuff like that. I was very fortunate not to get COVID, but it was just like that heartbreak of letting them down because I knew they trusted me, and again like that kind, like I was showing them kindness and pouring into them every week, and then boom, that last moment I couldn't be there, and that broke my heart so much, like to do that, because it was like because it was mandatory for them to be there, and so therefore I had to be there, and then boom, last minute just couldn't. Like that was, I think, the worst feeling of that whole like waiting 14 days was not being able to go and be with them, because yeah, you don't want that. You don't want them to feel like nice people, kind people can't be trusted.
Yes, yes. It's
Mm.
so funny because I'm going to veer a little bit and ask you, um,
Mm-hmm.
what is the what is the lesson or what is the blessing that you think you have gotten from 2020 or from COVID or from quarantine? What's your one takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway for me was action and relationships. Like
Mm.
how much can happen from just meeting one right person, and the ball and momentum just moving forward in that. Because for my job, like I said, I work in corporate ticket sales for a sports team, and there were no fans for 8 9 months. Like we there's no selling of tickets, there's no one I need to be necessarily outreach calling to. So what do I do at that time?
Right.
So it was in some ways going out being very intentional in those relationships and meeting people again, like Amber, and then
Mm.
Amber being like, let me connect you over to Tawana, and so
Mm.
many other different people that she's introduced me to. And then those people then introducing me to other people, and seeing that help both professionally in a sense to where, okay, like I think I built up maybe some type of referrals or pipeline for my sales job. That's like, again, action through relationships.
Yes.
And then also in taking No Doors Closed from my head into, I'm hosting a first event Saturday, next Saturday kind of thing. Like,
so tell me about the event that you're doing.
so it's going to be on Saturday, January 23rd from 11 to 1. And it's focused on vision identity. And I'm calling it part 1 because I'm looking at it being like a 3-part thing, where we're looking at a sense of how the world sees you. Because sometimes, like, even though we're told a lot of times don't listen to what the world has to say, we hear it and we might internalize it. So kind of taking some of that worldly internal dialogue that's been added, putting it out there, like mapping it out, and either deciding to move forward with something. Like if you're being told I'm kind, I'm doing great, like, okay, I keep those kind of things. But if I'm like something like, ooh, that you're just terrible, you're a gossip, or anything kind of on those negative sides, like, do I need to keep that in my dialogue for myself? Or is that a worldview that I can reject and change actions or behaviors that aren't a fit with that? Because I don't think I'm that. I think I'm these two things or whatever. So kind of focusing on putting what's been externally communicated, but internally processed back out to view. So that discovery part, and learn, discover, and act. So that's what that is.
Awesome. Well, I'm sending you lots of success for your event this weekend. Tell the listeners where they can connect with you at.
So they can connect with me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, my personal LinkedIn, which is Kaia Thompson. And then on Instagram, they can follow No Doors Closed. And then the website is www.nodoorsclosed.com. So
love it.
Kaia,
thank you so much for agreeing to chat with me for a few minutes. I love the quote from the Queen, Maya Angelou. And I'm going to end this episode with my theme song.
Are we going to dance? I was looking forward to dancing.
You want to dance?
Okay. I do want to dance. I was like, we needed to dance.
You ready?
Yes. Ready? I'm ready.
Wait a minute. Hold up. Okay, let's try this one more time.
One more time? Okay, I was like,
I love it. You know, I was gonna take it out because I'm like, is it too hard to get people to dance in their seat? But you have confirmed for me. I'm putting the dance moves back in.
I love it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm like, I want it. I was like, expect. I knew it was coming.
I know. I'm like, okay, do I stand up? Do I push all this stuff out? But hey, we can chair dance.
Yes, there's a lot of chances.
Perfect. Miss Kaia, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me and that we got to have this.
Yes. Okay, so we're gonna end. Let me play my theme song. Hold on.
And with the quote, we create kind humans who speak kindness, show kindness, be a kind human. Be a kind human.